Good Thursday morning. It's your Loudoun County weather outlook. Another sunny day, but a little chillier and definitely windy today. We get some gusty winds up near 30 miles per hour because of the dry conditions and because of the low humidity. We definitely have an elevated fire risk today, so be careful. No cigarette butts out the window, and make sure that you're just paying attention and not doing anything crazy with fire today. Dry conditions will last straight through the weekend. We're going to stay around in the 60s, low to mid 60s tomorrow. Same with Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday we can cool down a little bit more, and highs only in the mid and upper 50s. Maybe Sunday night we get down to the mid 30s, maybe a little bit colder in some colder spots. Another good chance of some frost maybe. 50s will stick around on Monday, but then we jump back up to the 60s and even 70s by middle of next week. So a really simple forecast. It's dry all the way through. You can see it here as I go through the weather maps. This high pressure system built in today with the northerly winds, more on the east side of the high. That's why you bring in some cooler air, as well as some of the windy conditions early because of the isobars, which is the pressure gradient. It's a little bit higher. We move forward, and again, looks kind of normal with a high. There are a few showers kind of showing up close by as this new high comes down. A little front will come through, but it looks all dry on the front. Again, here we're in high pressure, so we're going on the northerly winds, bringing this cooler air down. Won't be that super cold or anything. Like I said, highs in the 50s, so it's not too bad. But again, dry conditions with this high pressure coming in place and sticking around. So now we're into Monday, and the high is standing firm in place, continuing. This is still a little bit of a northerly wind. We have what's called a cold air damping, or cooler air kind of banked up against the mountains here, so maybe not as quick of a turnaround on the warmth. So you see Monday and Tuesday kind of chilly, but then by Wednesday, this high has moved far enough east that the winds are now coming out of the south. And once that starts happening, we warm up. I would not be surprised if late next week we see some highs get into the 80s as we stay dry, but this highs off the East Coast, pumping southerly winds and more humid air too. So I'll finally feel a little more humid. Not that we finally want to, but I mean just because of the orientation of the high pressure and where things are with the southerly winds, we definitely feel more humid. That could lend itself maybe some showers at some point. You see now we're kind of in this battle zone. These are always a little bit good because if you get a little bit of a battle zone between the warm and cool air, maybe you can get some moisture to be wrung out. But unfortunately, it's not happening over us so much. There is a little bit maybe late, but now we're talking way out there. I wouldn't count on any of this being true. This high in Canada is going to be pushed out by what looks like to be a more significant low pressure system here in the west. This has been showing up for a while. Now, after this, I'm just going to say we're in crazy land. Don't even believe it. But, I mean, the GFS model is pretty consistent and persistent that there's going to be some type of a tropical development here in the Caribbean. And then it really likes to move it up the East Coast. I don't buy this, but I mean, it's been doing it in a couple of days. This is so far out there, it's going to change. Weather maps aren't going to look the same when we get there. But there is, a consistent watch down in the Gulf, or not the Gulf, but the Caribbean, for maybe some type of development of some low pressure that could become more a problem or a nuisance. And there is even some teleconnector statistical scenarios that say maybe that's going to happen. What it does after this point is really up in the air. Just take everything I'm about to show you with a grain of salt. I've gone really far, but I just want to really give you the heads up that I don't know if this is going to come true, if there's going to be another low right up here, comes up the East Coast. I mean, this is consistent with what has happened in the past. Honestly, I'm actually on the wrong model. It gets a little crazier here on the 60, but everything else up to this point all remains the same. Pretty much dry conditions, cool conditions. Nothing really new. A big low pressure system kind of forming after some moisture tries to work in. Still warm conditions, and again, so last night and this morning run had this big potential hurricane down in the Gulf of Mexico, slamming into Florida and then causing a low pressure system to go up the East Coast. I don't think this is going to necessarily come true. Take it all with a grain of salt. But this is a longer forecast. We'll see if it pans out. I wouldn't count anything after about 6 to 7 days from now. It's been your Loudoun County weather outlook for Thursday, October 25th. Sorry for the long-winded discussion.